Hey guys, I'm Jason and I want to talk to you guys today about whether or not you should get one of these budget fridges. So over the years, I've had a bunch of different coolers. I've had really budget ones, and I've also had very expensive ones. Every single time, I always had the same problem. After a few hours of off-roading out in the heat, I would get that sloshing, and it would just drive me crazy. Not only that, but I would get the occasional soggy sandwich because the bag leaked and the water was sloshing around and it got in there. So I'd always see people with fridges and they would go with like a Dometic or something like that. And I just looked at the price tag and thought, I'm not really willing to pay $1,000, $1,500. So maybe you should look at something like this. I looked around and I found a budget cooler that I think is really great. And I've been using it for a while. This one is $375 at the time of filming. So that is half, maybe even a third the price of some of the coolers out there. If you're like me and you bought the Yeti or Orca or something like that and you spent, $300-$400, I've had situations where I've ruined my food and got contamination. I've even gotten light food poisoning before because my food didn't stay at a low enough temperature. Well, if you went the Yeti route and you spent $300-$400 and then you look at something like this, which is about the same price or cheaper for a whole fridge, well, I think you kind of notice that, well, maybe I paid a little bit more because the word Yeti was written on it. So let's say you've decided, okay, I do want to go with the fridge. So you start looking around and you see all these $1,000, $2,000 fridges, and you can't really tell what the difference between something like this and a Dometic is. So there was a time when there was only a few fridge brands, and the technology really hadn't gotten to the point where something like this was able to keep up with that. Well, it's been a few years now, and a lot of these have pretty similar compressors, if not the same compressors as some of the big brands. So now there are plenty of fridge brands out there that are making pretty much the same product as one of the more expensive ones. Now you've got years of people testing these out. You've got reviews on Amazon, on any of these websites, whereas maybe in the past you really had to spend that extra money. You really don't anymore because something like this is actually going to be reviewed and tested. Take the time and you read reviews, you're going to get a pretty similar answer to what I'm giving you, that these are actually pretty good. So now I want to talk a little bit more about why I chose the SetPower 45s. So I've been running this fridge for about a month and some change now, and I've been really impressed. I've been a really big fan of these handles because I really like that they are spring-loaded, and I also just feel like they are very strong. I use these normally to latch on to these, but just for the purpose of this video, I took them off so you guys can see the faceplate. But normally I actually use these handles to strap and hold it down, and they've held up really well. So overall, I really like the construction of this in general. It's metal on the outside, and it actually has latches. Now I really like that it has latches because I've seen a lot of them where the lid just closes and basically, hopefully it doesn't come undone. Now, I know for the most part that's probably not going to happen, but I just really like that it has latches because it's just a little peace of mind. The next thing I really love about this fridge is basically what I've been talking about the whole video, that it is a budget fridge. Now this was, I believe, $375, and if you use my discount code below, you'll get it for even cheaper. And similar ones just like this are going for $1,000. So I really love that I was able to find a budget fridge for my vehicle. A lot of people I see online are running these, $1,000 fridges, and basically this one is half of that, and I'm getting exactly the same thing that really anybody else is. So also another thing I really love about this is that it is a 47 quart fridge. Now my old cooler was a lot smaller and took up basically the same space because of the roto molding. They kind of have to have a thicker outside to it. Because it has a compressor inside, it's able to keep it cooler without having to have as thick of walls as, like, let's say my old Yeti. So basically at 47 quarts, that's 69 cans, 37 bottles of water, or 28 bottles of wine. I don't know who in the world is carrying 28 bottles of wine with them, but if you need to, you can fit it in here. So one thing I think that a lot of overland RV people will enjoy about these fridges over a cooler is that you can actually secure these things down and add them to a slide. I can reach into a packed car and slide out the fridge so I don't have to reach all the way in just to open this back up. It can be mounted without a slide and just kind of sit in the vehicle, or it can even just sit freely like a cooler, but this is just my favorite way of setting this up. Being able to reach in and pull out my fridge, even lock it in place so it doesn't move, is very much a huge game changer. So one massive selling point about this budget fridge is that you can control the temperature. The model here can go down to 0 degrees Fahrenheit, so if you really needed to have a whole fridge of just frozen things, you could do that. So this brand SetPower also had a model with dual zones as well, and it looks really cool. However, at the time, I just didn't see a need for a freezer section. Now, a lot of budget fridges aren't going to have the dual zones, so if that's something you absolutely need, maybe check out the other model, which I may end up trying one day. But being able to kind of control the temperature and maybe setting it at like 32 for food, meat, stuff like that. Now, if you want an entire fridge of just completely frozen food, you can do that. But for me, I just thought that a regular chest style fridge was perfectly fine. So another big selling point for me is that when you get back from a trip, you can just go in there and take like a wipe and just wipe it down, and usually it's pretty clean. But just in case, I do use a disinfectant wipe because you never really know, maybe something got out, but usually you would see something like that in a fridge, whereas on my Yeti, I would always have stuff kind of leaking around and I would see mystery liquids from like mustard or something like that getting in, and I'll have to drain it and disinfect it. This is so much easier to clean because you don't have melted ice water mixing around with your food. So it's 9 o'clock. It didn't quite get to 100%, but it's at 99, 59 degrees. Let's check it in the morning and see how it is. 9 a.m. the next day and 74%. All right, it's been 24 hours. Running the fridge on max, and we are at 52%. So guys, like I said, you can either check out this RV45s, which is the single zone. You can either do a fridge or a freezer, or you can check out the RV45D, which is the dual zone. There's also a bunch of other models they have as low as like I think $100 or something like that. And maybe you can check one of those out if this one or the other one isn't exactly what you want. I'll drop a link below where you guys can check this out, and I even have a code for it. I've been really happy with this fridge, and I think you guys will like it as well. Like I said, they've got a few models like this, but for me, like having the magnet so I can use my light on the campsite, you know, a number of the features that I talked about, I think this is the best one for me. I may eventually try the other one, but I understand that if you don't think you need something like this, I also didn't think I needed it before I gave it a shot, but now that I have tried it out, I really just can't see myself going back to coolers. So for now on, I'm going to be using this fridge or possibly another fridge from SetPower, but I'm pretty happy with this brand and I'm pretty happy with this fridge itself. If you like this video, maybe you'll like this one or this one. You can subscribe right here. Right here.